So my YouTube stream, I've just got activated, so you can see it if you type in VK3CSJ in the YouTube search engine and look for the live symbol, and that should be putting up reasonably hi-fi images. But for how long, I don't know. We do have a third modem that we are now trying, and I don't believe it's the modem necessarily failing, but I think it's something to do with the NBN side of it. So I've been talking to the folks, a very strong accented Indian. Very hard to understand, in fact. But I think he's on my side. Anyway, anyway. So if the YouTube stream drops out, you can always rely on Discord. And Richard VK3VRS is currently streaming a video stream via the Discord video channel. So if you install Discord and look for the the Astronomical Society of Victoria link, something along those lines, you'll find it. And there's already quite a few people there on the chat window, I can see. Yes, apologies for not being here last week, but Wednesday last week I bit down on a dodgy tooth, which has been giving me a little bit of grief over the last couple of years, and finally it certainly did give me a lot of grief, and I thought, that's it, I have to face the dentist. So by this time last week I was feeling pretty miserable for myself, and I thought, there's no way I can present a cheery sounding voice on the ASV broadcast if I'm biting down on several pieces of gauze in my mouth to stop bleeding. It just wasn't going to work. So I can just hear you going, ew. So fair enough, I won't go on about that anymore. Anyway, g'day to Cassiopeia, Nebs, Richard and Mitch, VK3ZT. G'day, Mitch. G'day, Mumbles. Martin, VK7JAH, down there in good old Launce Seston. And Kim has joined in, including VK3KDM, David, our resident MBO listener. And the linear thingy is working at the moment, so that's good. All right, I'll try and be cheery-eyed, and there's a few links, a few things, articles today, so let's see if we can get through them before the end of the day. We've got a video from Tamitha, our space weather woman. It's 8 minutes, but that was released within 24 hours ago, so it's pretty current. So I'll be pretty pleased to play that, and I've downloaded that and installed it in vMix before the internet falls over, so it's so safe and secure, providing the computer doesn't blow up in the meantime. All right, so as I said, we're on 3541. Again, sorry, there's no 160 meter missions, and I can see myself up there on the BATC feed. So if YouTube does fall over, we are broadcasting to the British Amateur Television Club video streamer, and I can see it. It is actually up there. It's running, and I suspect there is sound. Yep, I suspect there's sound attached to it. So just go to the BATC video stream.
It's all working fine.
That's the producer in the background there, Lucy number 2. Sorry, it's Ian. Yes, so we are broadcasting there in fine colour too. It looks pretty good on that small screen. All right, so the British Amateur Television Club has a video streamer, quite a massive streamer. There's quite a few people that are connected to that stream worldwide. ATV is worldwide, and just look for the click on stream. You don't have to log in. You don't have to be a member of the society. Just click on where it says streamer or streamer, and then look for repeaters. Click on repeaters. Look for RTV1, and there it is. And we're also got a email. What is it? VK3ekh@gmail.com. vk3ekh@gmail.com. And if you wish to send reports, and I better keep an eye on that because I'm currently looking at my BATC feed. So I shall go up to the inbox, and there it is. G'day, Andrew. Andrew has tuned in already. He says he's checking in, listening on 80 metres, 5 and 9. Hope the mouth is feeling better. Blah. Stephen has checked in, VK3 SBX, 30 over 9 type signal. And Mr. DD, he says 35 over 9 too. Excellent stuff. Yeah, I don't blame you about missing. Look, I tell you, it's all downstairs. The 160 AM side of the station is all downstairs. If I could just run a couple of wires from up here downstairs, I might be okay. Actually, no. See, the problem with 160 at the moment is I've retuned the antenna from 1865 to 1825 kilohertz, because that's where the majority of AM occurs. If I was to come up on AM at the moment on 1825, the CW enthusiasts wouldn't be very pleased. So 1825 is sort of off limits once the sun goes down. But it's a daytime AM frequency. And having said that, I've now configured things to run the WIA broadcast on 160 AM. It's been years, well over a decade, maybe even 2 decades since 160 AM was used to broadcast the WIA cast missions. Well, I've decided to revisit that notion. And 9 o'clock every Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, 1825 AM, you've got the live, well, not live, but the broadcast coming through. And then at 10:30, I still do it via the ATV repeater. So enough of that. Boy, oh boy. So as soon as I get an antenna sorted out for the high end of the band, like 1865, then I'll be back up on 1860, back up the high end anyway with an AM signal there, Dom. So be patient, we're getting there. Because I can tell you, well, yeah. Anyway, the signal on 160 will be mightily good once I can fix that situation up. Antenna, it's all it is. It's just antenna, and a few other things actually. Come to think of it. All right, now it's already 10:30, and I've just been rambling on here. I can see you all looked at your clocks there, and you thought, no, it's not. Very pleasant good evening to everybody else. G'day, Kim. VK5 FUSE has joined in. You can see that. I think I mentioned you before. Alrighty then, the Astronomical Society of Victoria, of which this broadcast weekly, when it does occur, is all on behalf of, was founded in 1922, comprises over 1,600 members throughout Victoria, other states of Australia and overseas. Membership of the Society is open to all persons with an interest in astronomy. The Society's objectives are to encourage the study and practice of astronomy and to disseminate the knowledge of the science and to provide greater facility for the study among its members. Monthly meetings are usually held on the second Wednesday of each month, except in January, with the latter being held on a Saturday night. Meetings start at 8 p.m. in the Maulia Hall, Burwood Avenue, Melbourne, near the Melbourne Observatory, which is located adjacent to the Shrine of Remembrance. Parking is available in Burwood Avenue, Dallas Brooks Drive, and surrounding streets. Admission is free and visitors are most welcome. Privileges of membership include the right to borrow books, periodicals and other publications from the Society's extensive library, located at the Melbourne Observatory, receipt of the ASV's magazine Crux, containing articles, news, observing notes and the like, and the free provision of the Astronomical Yearbook. Access is available to telescopes on members' nights held regularly at the Melbourne Observatory and after the monthly meetings, weather permitting. These instruments include the Society's 300mm equatorial reflector and the 300mm portable reflector. There's also a 200mm refractor managed by the Royal Botanic Gardens, and a recently restored photoheliograph are also housed at the observatory and are accessible too. The Society also has a number of 200mm reflectors available for short period loans, so members can try before they buy. Members are also encouraged to make use of the Society's country property located near Heathcote, some 90 minutes drive north of Melbourne. There are a range of instruments available for members to use, the larger two only with appropriate training, which range from 300mm to 1000mm in aperture. Also located on site is a fully steerable 8.5 metre radio telescope, which members can access with involvement with the radio astronomy section. Members are encouraged to make and use telescopes. Advice and help on both matters are provided willingly to newcomers desiring to do the same. Instrument making is only one of the number of common interest activities catered for within the Society. Other areas of interest that members can participate in include deep sky observing, astrophotography, lunar and planetary observing, auroral, meteor, comet, radio astronomy, computing, cosmology and astrophysics, historical studies and research and astronomy in general. Contact details for the various section directors are provided in the yearbook. Further information, however, may be obtained by visiting the ASV website at www.asv.org.au. Notifications of events are given in the Crux Extra, which is an email bulletin that's published every other week for members and sent out via email to members, as I said. Please note that the ASV will conform to the government and health directives. ASV events may be required to be cancelled, moved or postponed, which has already happened this year with the Messier Star Party due to fire restrictions that came in that weekend, I think it was. Such as it is. So there it is, word for word, the thing that I usually read out every week about the Astronomical Society. There it is. That's what I read from. I haven't devoted it to memory yet. It's a wonder I haven't. It's probably up there, but I just can't think of it. I have to read it from the sheet. Mind you, I could do a recording of it, I suppose. I know some of you have mentioned that. Why not just record it and do it? Yep, I suppose I could. But it actually, in reading that every week like I do, it gets the vocal cords going and the speech centre going, because there hasn't been much talking through the day. All right, you're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, broadcasting since 1988. And I've been doing it for the last 12 years. So, and we're still rocking and rolling. Alrighty then, at 14 minutes past the hour, let's see if we can go into our first article that we've got. Where's my mouse? There it is. So the first thing I have up here, which I've been actually sitting on this, I've kept this page open for weeks, since April 27. I've kept this page open on my laptop downstairs, and I've only just managed to get it up here so I can read it out. So it's oldish news, but here it is anyway. And I think I've got it. There's just one little picture. Did I save this picture there? Is it there? No, it's not actually. But it's just a picture of, what is it? A picture of the International Space Station. Well, we all know what the International Space Station looks like, okay? Right, just picture it in your head. For those watching video, just checking the repeater. Partners extend International Space Station for benefit of humanity. Right, and this is released on NASA's Space Station webpage, so it's pretty correct. And what I was going to put up was a picture of the International Space Station. So it was pictured on the 4th of October 2018. There it is. The International Space Station partners have committed to extending the operations of this unique platform in low Earth orbit, where for more than 22 years humans have lived and worked for the benefit of humanity. conducting cutting-edge science and research in microgravity. The United States, Japan, Canada, and the participating countries of ESA, European Space Agency, have confirmed they will support continued space station operations through 2030. And Russia has confirmed it will support continued space station operations through to 2028. NASA will continue to work with its partner agencies to ensure an uninterrupted presence in low Earth orbit, as well as safe and orderly transition from space station to commercial platforms in the future. The International Space Station is an incredible partnership with a common goal to advance science and exploration, said Robin Gattens, director of the International Space Station Division at NASA headquarters in Washington. Extending our time aboard this amazing platform allows us to reap the benefits of more than 2 decades of experiments and technology demonstrations, as well as continue to materialize even greater discovery to come. Since its launch in 1998, the International Space Station has been visited by 266 individuals from 20 countries. The space station is a unique scientific platform where crew members conduct experiments across multiple disciplines of research, including Earth and space science, biology, human psychology, physical sciences, and technology demonstrations that could not be done on Earth. The crew living aboard the station are the hands of thousands of researchers on the ground, conducting more than 3,300 experiments in microgravity. Now, in its 3rd decade of operations, the station is in the decade of results, when the platform can maximize its scientific return. Results are compounding, new benefits are materializing, and innovative research and technology demonstrations are building on previous work. The space station is one of the most complex international collaborations ever attempted. It was designed to be interdependent, relies on contributions from across the partnership to function, and no partner currently has the capability to operate the space station without the other. With a continued foothold in low Earth orbit, NASA's Artemis missions are underway, setting up a long-term presence at the moon for science and exploration. It's happening, ladies and gents. It is happening stuff. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society Victoria, with the regular Friday night cast on 3541 kilohertz and elsewhere. And this article I've been also sitting on for several weeks, since the same day actually, April 26. I'm glad to finally close those 2 pages on the laptop. G'day Bill. VK3KHT has joined the chat room. Great signals in ATV. You look better than from Dentistry Fix. Yeah, well, this side's sort of fallen in a little bit because there's a tooth missing now. Oh dear. Come on guys, send a few more emails. VK3EKH@gmail.com. Signal reports. Oh dear. Anyway, okay. NASA power hack extends 45-year Voyager 2 mission even longer. The interstellar traveller is gradually losing power, but a clever tweak means it can continue running all of its scientific instruments. And I've got a picture of Voyager here. I think we all know what Voyager looks like too, but I'll throw it up. There it is. Back to the... Oh, I'm still streaming too. Yes. At 12 billion miles, or 20 billion kilometres from Earth, Voyager 2 is so far that it takes more than 22 hours for NASA's signals to reach the probe. With its power gradually diminishing, mission planners thought that they might have to shut it down or shut down one of its 5 scientific instruments next year. But a newly implemented plan has resulted in a welcomed delay. A recent adjustment in which the probe redirects a tiny amount of power meant for an onboard safety system means all 5 scientific instruments aboard Voyager 2 can stay active until 2026. According to a NASA Jet Propulsion Lab press release, there's a mediocum of risk involved. Mediocum of risk involved as the affected system protects Voyager 2 from voltage irregularities. But NASA says the probe can now keep its scientific instruments turned on for a while longer. Voyager 2, along with its twin companion Voyager 1, are the probes that just keep on ticking. Launched in 1977, the spacecraft visited several planets in our outer solar system before tickling the outer fringes of the heliosphere, a protective bubble-like region of space that surrounds the Sun and shields us from harmful radiation pouring in from interstellar space. The probes are still active and gathering unprecedented data about the heliosphere and its protective qualities. The science data that Voyagers are returning gets more valuable the farther away from the Sun they go, so we are definitely interested in keeping as many science instruments operating for as long as possible. Linda Splicker, Voyager project scientist at NASA's JPL, explained in a press release. Generators on both probes lose power each year as a result of continual decay process. This hasn't affected the science gathering, but mission planners have had to turn off heaters and other non-essential systems to compensate for the ongoing power loss. For Voyager 2, it was getting to a stage where one science instrument needed to be turned off soon, as early as next year. As a result of the newly implemented hack, Voyager 2 is now using a small amount of backup power provisioned for an onboard safety mechanism designed to protect the craft from potentially damaging voltage spikes. The probe is stealing some of this juice, not a lot, but to keep all 5 of its science instruments on. Although the spacecraft's voltage will not be tightly regulated as a result, even after more than 45 years in flight, the electrical systems on both probes remain relatively stable, minimizing the need for a safety net, according to NASA. The engineering team is also able to monitor the voltage and respond if it fluctuates too much. If the new approach works well for Voyager 2, the team may implement it on Voyager 1 as well. Voyager 1 passed the heliosphere in 2012, while its twin did the same in 2018. The gap being the result of Voyager 2's slower speed and alternative direction. An onboard scientific instrument failed early during Voyager 1 mission, making it less reliant on power than Voyager 2. Voltage spikes are a minor risk at this stage of the mission, and the payoff, more science from Voyager 2, is worth it, according to Susan Dodd, Voyager's project manager at JPL. We've been monitoring the spacecraft for weeks, and it seems like this new approach is working, she said. One of the greatest achievements in spaceflight history just got an extension, and for that we should all be profoundly grateful. It's incredible. But after all these years, NASA is still able to squeeze some added life from these pioneering probes. Yeah, so that's what I like, short articles like that. It's really good. But I've been holding on to that one for a little while, and I thought that was worthwhile, interesting. What I think what really gets me about this aspect of these 2 Voyager probes is that we can still communicate with them. Having to wait 22 hours for a response, and be able to send a signal, just goes to show how the Deep Space Network radio telescopes or radio dishes, how finely tuned that system is, and how absolutely super low noise those front-end amplifiers must be on that dish. Oh dear. I'd love to be in the control room when they're getting the dish onto the Voyager probe. And you know how they've probably got this broadband spectrum analyzer scanning a signal on a spectrum analyzer screen. That little noise peak in the middle there is a signal coming from Voyager. It's mind blowing. You're tuned to VK3 EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. Regular broadcast here on Friday evenings. Okay, now we have this little interesting article, which is a little bit more current. May 15. I've got a picture here, several pictures of this article actually. And the first one is this. All right, scientists confirm. My sense of humour immediately kicks in. Scientists confirm meteorite crashed into the New Jersey home. So don't be living in New Jersey. A rock that crashed through the roof of a house in New Jersey proved to be the real thing. A chunk spalled from a 4.5 billion year old asteroid. Spalled, S-P-A-L-L-E-D. Spalled. Must be an American word. Okay. Susie Kopp, C-O-P, didn't expect to find a visitor from outer space in her father's bedroom when she stopped by a house on Monday, May 8th. On the floor lay a black mango-sized rock, its broken surface exposing a creamy interior. When she looked around and spotted 2 holes in the ceiling, she knew that something wasn't right. Some 15 minutes before Kopp arrived, around 12:30 p.m, there were reports of a brilliant fireball in the area. As it happened, the heavy end of the falling star crashed through the roof of the Hopewell, New Jersey home. The meteorite struck the floor with such a force that it rebounded and punched a second hole in the ceiling before landing back on the floor. Finally, becalmed, its long interplanetary journey had come to an end. And here's a picture of it on the floor for those watching the video side of it. We are still streaming on YouTube. So there it is. That's the meteorite that well, as they said, it hit the floor so hard that it bounced back up to the ceiling, created another hole, impression, and then fell back down to the floor again. How about that? Anyway, it says here in the little piece of next to this picture, the meteorite is shown next to a gouge it made in the wood floor of the upstairs bedroom. The rock measures about 4 by 6 inches, 10 by 15 centimeters, and weighs 984 grams, just a little over 2 pounds. According to Dr. Mark Fries, the fireball was a small event with a total estimated energy of 1 ton of TNT. A typical meteorite this size hits the ground moving around 200 to 250 miles an hour, or 320 to 400 kilometers an hour. There it is. Kopp described the zone as still warm to touch, which was interesting because most meteorites arrive cold, even frosty, after a long journey through the vacuum of space. Unsure what to do with the rock, she called the Hopewell police for assistance. According to the Associated Press, a hazmat team arrived to examine the cosmetic trespasser for signs of radioactivity and check on the family. For the record, meteorites are no more radioactive than a banana you'd buy at a grocery store. Technically, all rocks are radioactive since they contain fissionable elements like potassium, uranium and thorium, but at vanishingly small levels. Studies have shown that most meteorites are in fact much less radioactive than Earth rocks. So I've got another picture here of this little meteorite. Where are we? It's there somewhere in vMix. I did bring it across. It's there. Didn't I do it? I didn't bring it across. Well, let's see if we can just fix that up right now as we speak, live on camera, because I do have a picture of it. There it is. Just with a couple of clicks, there it is. Up she comes, and there she goes. All right, back to the article. Sorry about that. Meanwhile, the police contacted the nearby College of New Jersey and got hold of Shannon Graham. We all know Shannon Graham, an assistant professor of physics who helped determine the object's identity. Kopp and Graham connected, and on Wednesday, May 10th, Kopp brought the mystery rock to the college for analysis. Graham, with the help of Nathan McGee of the physics department and colleagues, confirmed its cosmic origin based on visual inspection, density measurements, and close-up examination with the electron microscope. Oh my goodness me, they had an electron microscope in this place. Anyway, they continue on to say that at first analysis indicated it's likely an LL6 chondrite, a stony meteorite with low iron content that frequently displays cement-like colour when fresh. A thin rend of fusion crust, R-I-N-D. That's another word. A thin rend, R-I-N-D. I've never seen that word before. A thin rend of fusion crust from atmosphere creating covers much of the outer surface. Rend. At some point on the way down, and certainly after piercing the roof and hitting the floor, pieces broke off to expose the rock's interior. Like almost all meteorites, chondrites date back to the formation of the solar system some 4.6 billion years ago. Holding one in your hand conjures visions of time before there was even a planet to stand on. The LL group is the least abundant of the ordinary chondrites and likely originated from hot asteroid interiors. The heat homogenized the rock minerals and blurred the borders between individual chondrules. And they show a little map here of where they think this thing came from, part of the sky. So I can quickly bring that up because I did bring that across. I think I did. There it is. Okay, so if you can imagine yourself standing in New Jersey in the States, this is where they think the meteor, part of the sky, the meteor would have come from. If you can imagine seeing Aquarius and Pisces there and a few other constellations. But anyway, there it is. That's where they think it came from, right, that part of the sky. So some wondered whether the space rock might have been related to the Eta Aquariid meteor shower, which is active this time of the year. Meteors from the shower derive from a dust released by Halley's Comet during its cyclic visits to the inner solar system. But by noting the direction of the meteorite's flight, see diagram on the screen right now, we can definitively say that there is no connection. It entered the atmosphere travelling east to west at the time of entry, and the radiant of the Eta Aquariids, the spot in the sky from which meteorites emanate during the shower, stood about 20 degrees high in the southwestern sky, directly opposite the meteoroid's arrival trajectory. So, there's just a little more to this. I might just go to the last few paragraphs. I've got another picture of this rock. There it is. Now, the associated article to that says that also the material that comprises meteor showers is typically the size of sand grains. One might reach the size of a chocolate chip or pea. To date, not a single meteorite of the 71,688 classified and named meteorites have been shown to originate from a meteor shower. While it's possible we may have few cometary meteorites in our collections, the vast majority are fragments from asteroids. And as an interesting aside, the Japanese probe Hayabusa returned samples from asteroid 25143 Otakua in June 2010. analysis identified the specks at LL5 and LL6 chondrite material, the same as Earth's latest cosmic visitor. Some are really calling the Hopewell fall the Titusville meteorite, after the location of the nearest post office. Yes, I'm just going to leave it there. Oh, there's one paragraph. Dedicated meteorite hunters have been out in force since the news first broke, combing the landscape for black holes. They're guided by maps made during the Doppler radar facilities in the area, which can detect meteorite fragments falling through the air. As an incoming meteorite streaks over the land, it commonly breaks into pieces due to thermal shock from the atmosphere. These disperse to form an oval-shaped strewn field beneath and near the meteorite's path. Fragments are sorted according to size. Small meteorites typically fall in the near end of the oval and largest chunks at the terminus. Every rock that hurtles from the heavens brings us closer to better understanding of how the solar system grew from dust into its beautiful, baffling and bountiful place. Keep them coming, they say. Well, providing they don't fall through my roof, I'll be happy. Okay, back to the camera. You're tuned to ASV Radio VK3EKH, broadcasting on 3541 kHz and by the Melbourne TV repeater VK3RTV, and also streaming on YouTube, which is still hanging in there, I can see, which is fantastic, and also on Discord. Okay, now we're going to keep the time in mind here. This article is nice and short too, talking about exoplanets, and there is a picture here too. I'll come back to that in a minute. Astronomers have directly detected a massive exoplanet, and the method could transform the search for life. Astronomers are hot on the search of new exoplanets, planets that lie beyond our solar system, which might show potential for sustaining life. April 24. This might be another article I've been sitting on for a while. Finding life on other planets might well be a holy grail of astronomy, but the hunt for suitable host planets that can sustain life is a resource-intensive task. The search for exoplanets, planets outside our solar system, involves competing for time on Earth's biggest telescopes. Yet the hit rate this search can be disappointingly low. In a new study published April 13 in Science, I and my international team of colleagues have combined different search techniques to discover a new giant planet. It could change the way we try to image planets in the future. Imaging planets is no small feat. To satisfy our curiosity about our place in the universe, astronomers have developed many techniques to search for planets orbiting other stars. Perhaps the simplest of these is called direct imaging, but it's not easy. Direct imaging involves attaching a powerful camera to a large telescope and trying to detect light emitted or reflected from a planet. Stars are bright and planets are dim, so it's akin to searching for fireflies dancing around a spotlight. It's no surprise only about 20 planets have been found with this technique to date. Yet direct imaging is of great value. It helps shed light on a planet's atmospheric properties, pardon the pun, such as its temperature and composition, in a way other detection techniques can't. HIP 99770b, a new gas giant. Our direct imaging of a new planet named HIP 99770b reveals a hot, giant and moderately cloudy planet. It orbits its star at a distance that falls somewhere between the orbital distances of Saturn, Uranus and around our Sun. And now I can bring up this little image, a little graphic. There it is. So that image there on the screens right now gives you a bit of a comparison of where it is in relation to its sun in relation to our solar system. So in the graphic above, you see where Jupiter is. So they're saying that HIP 99770b is relatively about the same sort of distance that Jupiter is to our sun as to its sun, which is a bit more brighter than our sun. So the article says here that the HIP 99770 star is almost 14 times brighter than the sun, but since its planet has an orbit larger than Saturn's, the planet receives a similar amount of energy as Jupiter does from the sun. So going on with the article, with about 15 times the mass of Jupiter, HIP 99770b is a real giant. However, it's also more than 1,830 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,000 degrees Celsius, so it's not a good prospect for a habitable world. What the HIP 99770 system does offer, in its analogy to our solar system, it has a cold debris disk of ice and rock far out from the star, akin to a scaled-up version of the Kuiper Belt in our solar system. The main difference is that the HIP 99770 system is dominated by one high-mass planet rather than several smaller ones. And they've got a bit of a graphic here, a GIF image, which is on a loop. So I'll bring that up as well and loop it. Okay. Now this image, for those watching, this image is of HIP 99770 system taken with an exoplanet imager, the Subaru Coronographic Extreme Adaptive Optics Project, coupled with data from the CHARIS, CHARIS instrument, which is the Coronographic High Resolution Imager and Spectrograph. Wow. So those two top instruments have recorded this image of the exoplanet around its parent star. And you can just see it moving there, and this other ring they're talking about. Interesting stuff. So, continuing on, searching with the light on, we reached our findings by first detecting hints of a planet via indirect detection methods. We noticed the star was wobbling in space, which hinted that the presence of a planet in the vicinity with a large gravitational pull. This motivated our direct imaging efforts. We were no longer searching in the dark. The extra data coming from the space agency's Gaia spacecraft, which has been measuring the positions of nearly 1 billion stars since 2014. Gaia is sensitive enough to detect tiny variations of a star's motion through space, such as those caused by planets. We also supplemented this data with measurements from Gaia's predecessor, Hipparcos. In total, we had 25 years worth of astrometric positional data to work with. Previously, researchers have used indirect methods to guide imaging that has discovered companion stars but not planets. It's not their fault. Massive stars such as HIP 99770, which is almost twice the mass of our sun, are reluctant to give up their secrets. Otherwise, successful search techniques can rarely reach the levels of precision required to detect planets around such massive stars. Our detection, which used both direct imaging and astrometry, demonstrates a more efficient way to search for planets. It's the first time the direct detection of an exoplanet has been guided through initial indirect detection methods. Gaia is expected to continue observing until at least 2025, and its archive will remain useful for decades to come. Astrometry, I am not saying it right, astrometry, it's one of those little words. Astrometry, I guess you can still pronounce it that way, of HIP 99770 suggests it belongs to the Argus Association of Stars, a group of stars that moves together through space. Bunch of friends. This would suggest that the system is rather young, about 40 million years old. That would make it roughly 1/100th of the age of our solar system. However, our analysis of the star's pulsations, as well as models of the planet's brightness, suggest an older age of between 120 million to 200 million years. If this is the case, HIP 99770 might just be an interloper in the Argus group. Now that it's known to host a planet, astronomers will aim to further unravel the mysteries of HIP 99770 and its immediate environment. Well, it keeps them up late at night, I'm sure it does. You're tuned to VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast. And now I think I shall introduce Tamitha Scove's latest solar weather report, and that's going to give me 8 minutes of rest. I haven't checked the audio level, so I'm going to have to just see if this is going to work. So across to Tamitha, she should be okay. Yeah, no, that should be okay. I hope it is anyway. I'm looking at my mixer. Let's see what happens. This is Tamitha.
Our sun's been snoozing for the past couple days, but it looks like not anymore. Big flares are back. Those stories and more in the news this week. If you want to learn how weather from our star causes impacts at the Earth that shape the future of our world, join Professors Dr. Jenny Meehan, Michael Cook, and myself as we guide you through a space weather certificate program like no other. To enroll in the Space Weather and Environment Science program offered at Millersville University, go to millersville.edu/SWEN. It's weather for the 21st century. This forecast also sponsored in part by CW Ops. Our sun has been snoozing over the past couple days, but it looks like it's beginning to wake up. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, we had been watching region 3296 as it rotated to the sun's far side. This was that big flare player from last week, and we're glad to see it go. Since then, there hasn't been all that much on the Earth-facing disk, a couple filament eruptions here and there, but nothing really substantial, except when you look down in the southeast off of the east limb. Over the past couple days, there's been a region that you're beginning to see its activity. In fact, just as it begins to really capture our attention, wham, right there, it fires off a near X-class flare. In fact, this likely was an X-class flare. It's just that it was occulted, meaning that it wasn't completely in view. On Earth's day side, it actually did cause a near R3 level radio blackout for a short while. And this region, believe it or not, we have been expecting it. As we take a look at our JSOC HMI helioseismology far side viewer, you can actually see this is region 2385 from the last rotation, and it's actually been growing on the sun's far side. You can see it in gold. See that big black dot? That thing continues to grow. That's this region, and it means that it's actually been firing off lots of solar storms and probably big flares on the sun's far side. So we're expecting a lot of activity from it here over the next couple weeks. So amateur radio operators, get ready for some radio blackouts. Now on top of that, we have just over the last day, whoosh, right there, we had a filament launch. This is a filament that looks like it's going to be a solar storm that goes to the southwest of Earth, so we're not really anticipating much impact from it. It may graze us right around the 20th or 21st, but probably not going to give us all that much to look for. We're going to have to wait until some bigger players rotate into Earth view. In fact, as we take a look at our sun's far side, this is stereo A, and it's looking at the sun just a tiny bit from the side. You can see on the east limb in the south, that is that new region region that is rotating into Earth view. And you can see when it launched that big solar flare on the 16th, it also launched a far-sighted solar storm, and that was actually involving other regions on the far side. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can see that big, massive halo. That is a far-sighted halo. Don't worry, it's not Earth-directed, but that means that there are other regions on the far side that are big solar storm producers. Plus, you can see in the north, there's also some brightening here. This is another region that's going to be rotating Earth side. So aurora photographers and amateur radio operators, get ready. The snooze is over. We're definitely going to be seeing more solar flares and more solar storms here over the next 2 weeks. Switching to our moon, we are now passing through the new moon phase on our way to a first quarter, and by the 22nd, the moon will be only about 8% illuminated. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch those dim objects in the sky, or I don't know, maybe some meteors from the Lyrids or the Aquarids, those showers are still active. Now is your perfect chance. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we don't have any real Earth-directed solar storms right now other than that potential grazing passage that could give us something late on the 20th, possibly into the 21st. So at high latitudes, NOAA is expecting unsettled conditions, but we do have up to about a 20% chance of a minor storm somewhere around the 20th to the 21st, and then things will quiet down. So it really doesn't look like there's all that much activity. Now at mid-latitudes, the story's pretty much the same. We're expecting unsettled conditions, but we do have up to about a 10 to 15% chance of active conditions. But things, for the most part, are pretty quiet. We do have one filament that we're watching that's going through the Earth strike zone right now, and if it launches, it could be an Earth-directed solar storm. But right now, it really looks like we're not going to be seeing any big activity until next week. Switching to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are having a quiescent sun for the most part. We've only got one big flare player in Earth view, but more are coming. As such, we are sitting at about the 140s for solar flux right now, but likely that's going to start really ramping up. We could see ourselves in the 170s by the end of next week. Likewise, we are also sitting at minor noise right now on the radio bands, but that will likely ramp up to a moderate noise level as more of these regions rotate into view. We are seeing about a 25% chance from NOAA of the M-class flares. That's at an R1 to R2 level radio blackout. And we even have about a 5% chance of X-class flares at an R3 level radio blackout over the next few days. That again is likely going to continue to ramp up as more of these regions rotate into view. Amateur radio operators on Earth's day side, yes, the noise is going to get worse, and you are going to have to deal with these periodic blackouts easily over this next week and possibly in through next week. And emergency responders, you know, if you're dealing with amateur radio operators and working with them, you're just going to have to understand that this is going to be the way it's going to be on Earth's day side. So hang in there. Hopefully things aren't going to be too bad. Switching to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week. Right now, we are actually in elevated conditions. This was due to a small radiation storm being launched during that near X-class flare back on the 16th. We are sitting at the D2 minor level, but that's also an S0 level right now. We're not at an official radiation storm. It's just elevated, but things are going to be quieting down over the next couple days, and we probably will be back at D1 normal conditions, possibly by the 19th and definitely into the 20th. Luckily, we only have about a 5% chance of an S1 to S2 level radiation storm, but these chances might rise as this week continues and more regions begin to rotate into view. So pilots, please be aware those ICAO advisories are out. So if you want to factor them into your flight plans, they are a good way to keep yourself aware, because these radiation storms do affect the poles and it could cause problems for polar aviation. So the space weather this week is definitely picking up. We don't have any Earth-directed solar storms at the moment, other than a glancing blow from a solar storm that was launched to the west of Earth. Now, it might give us a little bit of something around the 20th to the 21st, but aurora photographers, it may not even be enough for you to notice. So you're just going to have to wait for about a week when some of these active regions rotating into Earth view right now kind of rotate to a place where they can actually send us Earth-directed solar storms. So just hang in there. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, radio blackouts are on the menu. We do have that one active region that's now rotated into Earth view, and there will be others that follow suit. So expect R2 to possibly R3 level radio blackouts on Earth's day side periodically, and this could last easily over the next couple weeks before things settle down. And expect that noise on the bands to ramp up, because that's going to be an issue. Now, GPS users, well, you're kind of in the same boat. The radio blackouts are definitely an issue for your GPS reception, especially near dawn and near dusk. So take that into consideration when you fly. And if you happen to be a pilot, be sure to check those ICAO advisories, because right now we are in a very small radiation storm, but radiation storms could definitely be an issue. So we have those polar cap issues that occur during that period. And of course, those radio blackouts are not good for comms. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Okay. A little bit more audio. And turn that down and go back to camera. All right. Thank you, Tamitha. All right, bring the audio up a bit more there. Had to fiddle with audio there quite a bit at the start. It was all over the place. And bring that up a bit there too. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's probably too much there for YouTube. Got levels all over the place. I've got to keep an eye on Hala. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, now it is 3 minutes or so to the hour, and I've got something in my eye which is annoying me. Thank you, Tamitha Skov. Her call sign is WX6 Sugar Whiskey Whiskey. WX6SWW, Space Weather Woman. How appropriate is that? Look it up on QRZ.com and you'll find her on there. All right, that was a good report, because that's covering this weekend, and which is makes it all very current. So thank you, Tamitha, for that timely space weather report. Having said that, what did I have up next to say? Skylab. Yes, I was going to talk about Skylab, but I won't go into the whole article. Suffice to say that remembering Skylab's launch 50 years on, the eventual success of America's first space station, Skylab, was masked by troubled launch that almost halted the mission in its tracks. And this was published May 17. Yeah, okay. So on May 14, 1973, watched by 25,000 spectators, the last Saturn V patiently sat on launch pad 39A at Florida's Cape Kennedy Center. Atop the rocket was Skylab, the biggest, heaviest single object ever to be put into space, and the nation's first long-term off-planet homestead. At 12:30 local time, the Saturn's 5 F1 engines came to life, churning out 7.6 million pounds of thrust. A harsh guttural growl and a river of fire followed, lava-like across the marshy landscape, and we have liftoff, gushed a NASA launch commentator at the 36-story rocket, amidst the the mightiest ever flown at the time, and lumbered airborne. The Skylab lifting off the pad now and moving up. 30 seconds later, the behemoth vanished into a low-hanging canopy of iron-grey cloud, its trailing tongue of flame offering reassuring certainty of a nominal ascent. Range safety gives Saturn a green, came the update of the rocket's powered onward. Good stable thrust on all 5 engines was the commentary. Oh dear. I can't really finish it. I'll just whet your appetite. I'll look at that next week. But we're celebrating 50 years on since Skylab was launched, and of course its eventual demise here in Australia. And there was one here for Mars as well. It was an interesting little article. Don't mess with Mars. It has a crust made of heavy armour, scientists say. I'll leave that till next week. And SpaceX is rolling out on the pad for a launch on Sunday. AX-2's private astronaut launch. And I do have an image of this rocket laying down here. It's not quite up vertical at the moment. There it is. AX-2 is scheduled to send 4 people toward the International Space Station on Sunday, May 21. And in this image on the screen, SpaceX rolled its Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon capsule out to launch pad at NASA's Kennedy Space Center on May 18, ahead for a planned launch on May 21. So the hardware for SpaceX's next private astronaut mission has made it to the launch pad. So we've got a launch on May 21, which is Sunday. Yeah. Anyway, thought I'd just drop that one in. As far as spaceweather.com is concerned, we have. Let me bring up this one. The solar wind is currently at 341.9 kilometres a second. It is a gale. Density of 6.12 protons per cubic centimetre. The sun, as we speak, has 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't mix it, can't count it because it's all jumbled up there in that far corner. Oh no, I can see it on the big screen here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sunspots. There's about 7 sunspots on the disk of the sun as we speak. And the current sunspot number is 121. The radio sun, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimeters, is 151 solar flux units. Excuse me. So the radio flux is 151 solar flux units at the moment. And the planetary K index is hovering at 1, KP1, which is quiet. And the 24-hour max is still looking at a KP of 1, which is also quiet, considering. And they're saying that there is a glancing blow, CME. I think Tamitha mentioned this. NOAA forecast to say that a CME might deliver a glancing blow to the Earth's magnetic field on May 21. It left the sun yesterday, propelled by an interrupting filament of magnetism on the sun's southern hemisphere. The impact could produce minor G1 class geomagnetic storms. Look out for auroras. Okay, and the current Aurora Australis is that. Not much to write home about. There is a little bit of auroral oval over Antarctica, but there's not much happening really at the moment. It's a fairly vague glow in the upper atmosphere, but nothing certainly towards Tassie or the mainland at this stage to, like I say, to write home about. Okay, as we go down the page, we come to our near-Earth asteroids. Potentially hazardous asteroids are space rocks larger than approximately 100 metres that can come closer to Earth more than 0.05 AU, astronomical unit. But however, none of the known PHAs is on a collision course with our planet, although astronomers are finding new ones all the time. So as of May 19, 2023, there were 2,316 potentially hazardous asteroids. So it may happen. All right, that was space weather in a nutshell, and that's how we always end up. All right, I think that's about it for tonight. Being just after 11, that hour has gone very quickly. So thanks very much for hanging in and listening to my wafflings. Much appreciated. You can all go to bed now. Thank you to everybody out there on the Discord chat window that came in. Kim, VK5FUSE, Bill, VK3KHT, Steve, VK3SBX, Dave from the Mount Burnett Observatory. You can find out more information about Mount Burnett Observatory by going to the website. They're also on Facebook. Just type in MBO, Mount Burnett Observatory, and you'll find out more information about the going-ons up there in the hills. Where was I? Martin, VK7JAH, Mitch, VK3ZT, Richard, VK3VRS, and Cassiopeia. And I think there was somebody else up there. Oh, it's me. Okay. All right, so that's all on Discord tonight. And thanks to Don, Stephen, and Andrew for your emails. All much appreciated. Now what I will do is go across to 80 metres and see if any stations wish to call in tonight. So I shall just get a new page here on the logbook. And where's that? I might also, I haven't got it connected, but I might just plug in the audio output on the speaker here. Just hang with me for a second. The trick is to know where I've got the right plug here. Where are we? Just a sec, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to. Very difficult to do it. Okay. I'm hoping that I've got the audio output going into the mixer. So we shall find out in a moment. Headphones are off. That's there. All right. This is VK3 EKH listening on 3541 kHz for any stations wishing to just bring up the mixer there, wishing to check in. Sounds like the band's dropped out a little bit. Alright, there's a few stations that doubled at the front, but I got VK3GL, VK5 Kilo Kilo Tango, VK3 SPX, VK3 ACL, I think it was. Any other stations? Alright, VK3 TJ, it's my horrible writing. TJ, that's Jack, yep. VK3DX, and now there was a VK2 there. Did the VK2 station try again? VK2 something kilo. Yeah, I'm missing the first two letters. VK2 something something kilo. Oh, yeah, I'm having trouble with the VK2 station. Who was the VK3? Oh, okay. Roger, VK2 Sierra Kilo. And who was the other station that came in then?
VK3 Charlie Alpha Lima.
Okay, Mr. Cole. All right. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that is 8 stations. It's not too bad going, but the band doesn't sound very strong for some reason. Its signals aren't terribly strong tonight. All right, Graham's the first one off the list there. VK3GL in Bunyip, VK3 EKH. Go ahead, Graham.
But as you have indicated, I think out some interesting articles tonight that were listening to. Enjoyed the pictures of the space rock and bits of meteorite that you put up on the screen, which were both interesting as well. I think your broadcast, I think you've got to complement it by having the visuals as well. It's good to listen to it, but having the visual representation of what you're talking about is equally as good too. Thank goodness that for internet and streaming and feed, because there's no way known here I'd have a hope in hell of being able to pick you up on the local ATV repeater. Alright, I might hang around and maybe have a few words after the end of the checking session this evening if you're still about. VK3EKH, VK3GL,
Yeah, thanks, Graham. VK3GL, Bunyip, VK3EKH in Narre Warren South. Very good, excellent stuff. Yeah, I tend to agree. The visual side of the what I do. I mean, I've been running the YouTube stream for a little while now, and providing the internet doesn't fall over, but it was first the repeater, running a TV picture through the repeater, and fortunately that does go through the British Amateur Television Club server, so that sort of spreads it around a bit more too, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, no, it's you'd be sort of hovering around 20 over 9, but not your usual strength, Mr. Lewis, so it's a bit unusual. Anyway, enough of that. Thanks, Craig, for checking in. All very good. Ian, VK5 Kilo Tango at 2 Wells. Hopefully I am being heard over there tonight reasonably well. Go ahead. Yeah, thanks, Ian. VK5 double KT, VK3CSJ, EKH. Sorry. Yeah, you're basically 5 and 9 here, in right on the 9. So my noise floor is hang on, right on the 9. So oh dear. Yeah, so you just coming through, but I think you said I was coming through about 30 over 9, so that's reasonably good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for the kind comments, and yeah, we're here to please. Anyway, thanks, Ian. Thanks very much, mate. Good on you. Steve, VK3SPX. You should be a bit stronger here, I'd say. VK3SPX, VK3EKH.
Environment. Yes, yeah, it was good broadcast. Yeah, it's good to see the ISS getting a little bit of extra life, isn't it? It did look like the whole thing was going to be coming down to earth with a thud in the fairly short term, but yeah, maybe another till at least 2030 at least. That's good. And I'm continuing amazed by Voyager 2 and Voyager 1. The longevity of those missions is just mind-boggling, isn't it? I think it started off with a 450 watts output from its radioactive generator. I'm not quite sure what it is now, but it must be getting down. But makes sense to turn some safety systems off now, doesn't it? There's not much to lose probably now, I'd say. Anyway, yeah, thanks, Clint. Okay, I'll hand it back to you, and you can get on with talking to more people. VK3EKH, VK3SPX.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. VK3 SPX, VK3 EKH returning, and I've finally got the audio patched on the output of the receiver. So for those watching the ATV and the audio video stream, at least they can hear the other side of the party here on the callback a little bit better than through the microphone. So yep, thanks, Steve. And you're down too. You're normally booming through, but definitely the short skip is not in tonight. So very interesting indeed. Yeah, that's working out tonight. But yes, I likewise. I too think it's pretty amazing that these deep space networks have the sensitivity to be able to pick up these feebly weak signals coming in from these probes. So I mean, the transmitter on Voyager, I think is I think it's just a 20-watt transmitter that runs. So it's it's pretty impressive. And mind you, it only needs something to knock the spacecraft off the direction to Earth, and we've lost it entirely. So for all these years, for the dish on Voyager, both Voyager spacecraft to be still aiming basically back at Earth is also a fairly impressive feat as well. So yeah, excellent stuff. All right, thanks, Steve. Now, I think the next station was VK3ACL. Excuse me, I think it was ACL, and going by QRZ.com, your name is Greg. I think that's right. I could be wrong. VK3ACL, I think it was VK3EKH.
I think you mean Charlie Alpha Lima, please. Kelvin up in not so sunny Kundarook.
Oh, I got that totally mixed up, did I? Because you called in towards the end there, Calvin. So maybe I did get the call sign mixed up. That's my dyslexic kicking in. Not really. All right, maybe it was you. VK3CAL, VK3EKH. Your turn then.
Yeah, thanks very much. No, very good signal tonight. 20 over, constant 20 over. All good signals tonight. So everyone might hang around till sign off and a couple of questions I'd like to ask you guys. Anyway, we'll let you keep it rolling, mate. VK3 Charlie Alpha Lima. We'll be listening.
Thanks, Calvin. Not a problem, dear sir. Jack, VK3TJS at Shepparton, VK3EKH. Good evening to you.
VK3EKH, VK3TJS. Thanks, Glenn. And yeah, like everyone said, fair and nice broadcast all the way 20 over here in Shepparton, and some people say even 30, but 20 in Shep, so it's good and interesting to listen to. And I watched a few times on YouTube, and it was quite good to see the visual things, and as you mentioned, and listen to the broadcast as well. Not tonight though. And yeah, wish everyone all the best. Good weekend, and catch up with you next time. VK3EKH, this is VK3TJ.
Thanks, Jack. VK3TJS, VK3EKH returning. Very good. Actually, I think it's the first time you've reported on the YouTube stream, viewing the video side of it. I think so. Anyway, you might be wrong, but no, I'm just glad that it hung in there for the duration of the hour, because from about 9:15, I must have had about at least 2 or 3 dropouts, and I thought, oh no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But it seems to have hung in there nicely, so I'm fairly pleased with that at least. Anyway, no worries. Thanks, Jack. Good stuff. Right, it's Greg, VK3 Delta X-Ray, VK3EKH. Good evening.
Good evening, VK3EKH, VK3 Delta X-Ray. All good, mate. Good broadcast, and yeah, very interesting there about the voyages and the longevity of it all. Yeah, it's all good. And yeah, no, interesting. There's Cliff, all good, mate, and you do a good job. Thanks for doing it every week, and we all appreciate your input there too. Great job. And the signals are very about 5 at 9 up to about 20 over. So we're within USB. Okay, Cliff, won't hold it, mate. I'll get your report. You got to send it on the email. That email was you again, I catch it. So it went by you.
your other email, I have to look up QRZ there. So anyway, try it next week. Catch you next week, mate. 73s, and cheers to all the ones that checked in. VK3EKH, VK3 Delta X-ray, Greg in Warrnambool.
Thanks, Greg. VK3 Delta X-ray, VK3 EKH returning. Very good. You're 5 and 9. I mean, you're right on the 9, about the same strength as Ian was, VK5 KKT. It really is unusual because you're also a powerful signal here into Narre Warren. So any short skip happening at the moment is very minimal. But again, thanks for the comments, and I'll like I say, I'm if I don't have any more trouble with teeth, I'll be here next week. Thanks, Greg. Okay, now I think it's Marcus, VK2. I don't know how I'm going to go with the hearing you there, Marcus, but the signals are just not making it tonight for some reason. VK2 Sierra Kilo, I think it was, VK2 SK, VK3 EKH, we're listening for you. Louise. No, I'm not hearing a thing. You still, according to QRZ, it's Marcus. VK2 SK, VK3 EKH. I'm sure I've got the right call sign. VK2 Sierra Killer. You there, Marcus? Any VK2s for that matter. Oh, I think the band's fallen right over. Any other stations wishing to check in? VK3 EKH listening.
VK7JAH.
Go ahead, Martin.
Evening, Clint. Yes, YouTube held up around here as well. Excellent broadcast. Thank you very much. The signals are about 40 over 9 for most of the night. I have to say the noise level crept up to about probably about 10 or 15 over 9 at the moment. But good broadcast. Thank you very much. Over.
Good on you, Martin. VK7JH, VK3 EKH. Thank you very much, Lee, for being the last person to call in. And certainly not as strong as the last previous Fridays. You're as you say, the band noise has come up a little bit and the signals have dropped off. So, good old 80 metres. Anyway, all right, on that note, thanks everybody for calling in. Much appreciated. And we'll see you all next Friday. And if everything goes okay, and we'll continue on with some more interesting news on astronomy and the like. You have been listening to VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with a regular broadcast, the Friday night broadcast, here on the good old 80 metres, 3541, and via the Melbourne television repeater, VK3RTV1, and courtesy of the repeater going through the British Amateur Television Club. So if anybody out there is watching on the BATC feed over there in Europe or wherever, let us know. Send an email to vk3ekh@gmail.com and we'll say g'day. So thanks everybody on Discord. No worries, David. And no further emails. So we shall conclude transmissions for tonight. I'll be doing a broadcast again, just as a bit of a plug for myself. Well, I guess for the Wireless Institute, really. But I'll be doing a plug. I'll be doing a broadcast Sunday morning at 10:30 on the television repeater, a WA broadcast, the visual representation of the broadcast on VK3 RTV1. At 10:30 in the morning, and then repeated again at 8 o'clock in the evening, Sunday evening, on the repeater. There will be I'll do a callback on the morning session at after the broadcast, and in fact now that I'm doing a WI broadcast on 160 meters in the morning, 9 o'clock on 1825, that'll give me a chance to do a quick callback if any stations are there. So. At 9:30, if you're not all listening to REC's broadcast, I'll do a quick call back on 1825 and see if there's anybody there wishing to give a report on the second WI broadcast on 160 AM, courtesy of the Telefunken. So, anyway, there it is, and that's it for the time being. So this is VK3 EKH, Echo VK3 CSJ on the microphone, concluding the service for tonight, and we're wishing everybody a very warm weekend. Stay warm. This is VK3 EKH clear. Thanks, Greg. All right, that's it for ATV.
VK3CSJ, you're about to expect VK3GL.
Is that you, Graham?
Yeah, I was just checking to see if you were around.
Yeah, barely. I'm not too far from heading downstairs. Anyway, is there anything pressing? I think Calvin wanted to ask a question too. VK3GL and perhaps VK3CAL, VK3CSJ now.
Yeah, okay, VK3CSJ, VK3GL. Yeah, very good, Clint. As I said when I checked in there before, it's been a little while since we caught up, so I thought I'd have a quick word with you and see how you've been, and how's work and all those sorts of things. Nothing really changed here. Situation normal. We had last weekend was busy enough. We did Mother's Day for my mum and dad, and Allison's mum and dad. They popped over on Saturday for lunch. Then she went out and saw a show on Saturday night. On Sunday we went for a cruise down around the peninsula, down Baxter and Tyab and Murdoch and that sort of thing. It was nice weather on Sunday, and then ended up at Mason's place in Clyde North for dinner. We had Mother's Day evening there. Then I popped around to Chris and Nicole on the way home. So that was last weekend. This weekend's sort of been busy with work and that sort of thing. I really don't know where the weeks go. They just continue to roll around. Anyway, there we be. So what's the latest with you and what's been sort of happening there, Cliff? I sometimes have a bit of a listen around if I'm in the shack of an afternoon, but I rarely sort of hear you guys chatting on there. I don't know whether or not you're still talking on Simplex or something to Dennis, but I haven't even heard Dennis around much lately either. VK3CSJ, VK3GL.
VK3GL, VK3CSJ with a bit of a pause. All right. And I can hear RF getting back into my headphones. I hope that's not coming out over the radio. Don't think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear any RF feedback on my signal at the moment, Gray?
I'm not really detecting anything, no. It just sounds normal, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just local. I've turned up the audio level a little bit so that it can be heard over the repeater a little bit easier. And I've still got the YouTube running, so waiting for it to fall over. Gray. No, look, I don't have a radio in the car at the moment. Since the quadbander failed a few weeks ago, I haven't really persevered with it, to be honest. Dennis was saying to me that he's been calling me at 3:30 on the way home, and I said to him, "Look, I don't have a radio in the car," and he kind of thought that maybe I would have at least organised something to operate in the car, but I just haven't quite thought of that. I've got a number of dual band radios lingering around. I've still got my original Alinco that I had when I had the VL, and that's sort of working, but it's producing noise on UHF. I think the UHF our PA is a bit noisy, so that's kind of that particular radio got shelved quite a while ago. Then, of course, I've been through, I suppose, a number of other cheaper dual band radios which have come and gone, and I've also what was it? Because once I installed the 706 in the car, but when I had the VS, that 706, which operated purely in VFO mode for every frequency I ever went to, I never committed anything to memory. The 706 was pretty much the go-to radio for the remaining years. I did have the ICOM. What was it? Something. It was a D-Star radio. The dual bander. 2510. I can't remember its number. IC 2510, something like that. But that lasted for a little while. But then it didn't power up anymore. Some issue there with the power on button. So that's shelved as well. I didn't get back to looking at that. So at that stage, I went with the I must have gone from that to the Watson quad bander. That's seen quite a lot of use from the car, and as you know, I've burnt the UHF driver. So I've just got to work on the board, determine the capacitor. I still haven't quite done that. I've located it, but I haven't determined what value it is. But there is a surface mount chip capacitor that needs to be replaced, which got a bit graunched. So that's just where I've left that at the moment. Unless I get a bull bar fitted to the front of the Subaru and mount the 9-foot stainless steel whip for HF and for the 706, I guess I could put the 706 in the car to get me up on UHF. I suppose there's a possibility, and get it ready for getting a bull bar fitted to the front of the car. So there's a possibility that might happen. Apart from all that, okay on last weekend. It sounds like you had a nice weekend. I didn't do too much at all last weekend, I'm afraid. I think it was pretty much in-house and just potted around the place as much as possible. We still haven't had a chance to clean this place up at all, so I don't know. I have no idea when I'll be able to get some room in this place so that I can make more mess from my stuff. But we're working on it, I suppose. I've got to wait till July to get a little bit of access to my super to get a few other things done too. But apart from all that, we're still moving along, and getting back to 5 days a week working has been a small challenge. Getting used to 5 days a week again, but it's something I have to do. And I think for the next 4 or 5 years it'll be definitely back at work, and not thinking of retiring until I can. It's basically 67, so the whole idea of retiring went out the door. So it's still in the workforce for a few more years, unless things change dramatically where I work. All right, I think that's about it. I think we covered all points. VK3GL, VK3CSJ.
VK3CSJ, VK3GL, very good, Clint. Yes, and all noted, and I completely understand. You'll have to, I think the weather's supposed to be a bit ordinary this weekend, so maybe there's the opportunity to get your head into the radio and get that driver transistor sorted out. I think I gave you did I give you the board layout or something? I think I sent you an email, didn't I, with the quad band stuff on it, so that you could identify what the chip capacitor was that you needed over?
Yes.
Okay, that's all right. I was just checking. I knew that I was going to intend to do it, and I'm pretty sure that I did, but at least now you've acknowledged that yes, you do have it, so you'll be able to identify what the capacitor is and the value of it. I've got another body here, but it's a dual band body, that you can rat the part out of if you need to. I don't know whether or not JCAR have chip capacitors, but certainly you might be able to get it there, or perhaps via Rockby or that sort of thing. But anyway, let me know what value it is, because I might also have some new chip capacitors there that might be of the right value for you to use. And okay, on the comments there too about Dennis as well, and the work side of things and the retirement and yeah, well, I think we all said to you that you probably really couldn't afford to retire, because, well, even if you had it done and perhaps supported your mum for a period of time, given that she's passed on now, she may have passed on while you weren't working and had retired, where you'd probably be in the same sort of situation and thinking about maybe you need to still be working. So I guess, as it's turned out, it's probably in some respects fortunate that you were still working at the time when your mum passed, and you've been able to determine what you need to do moving forward. But yeah, I think you said 67. 67, is that for you? Gee, I reckon. Yeah. No, I've got no ambition about working when I'm 67, Clint. I reckon if I stick another 5 out, that'll make me 63, nearly 64. I think that'll be my lot. I'll be done by then. The only reason really that both Al and I are continuing to work, we've got a little bit of residual to pay off on this place, but not that that's a problem. We could, I've got enough stuck away that I could probably pay it off tomorrow if I wanted to, but it's not the way that we've got things set up. But we want to have a little bit of extra money to do things and enjoy things and go away and have a holiday each year. So that's what we're sort of planning to do. We're planning to have an annual 4 or 5 weeks away somewhere from now on while we can, and are well enough and capable of us being able to do that. So there we be. Anyway, just on another front, I've sold some of that stuff that we picked up from Betty over at Ringwood. Actually, Paul, VK3DA, purchased the FD1000, so that's been sold, and the MD1 microphone that goes with that. So I've got the receiver and the FT7 to still sell. So I'll get them advertised probably on VK Classifieds this weekend and get them moved on. Other than that, that's sort of been pretty much it, really. So as much as there's been a few things happen over the last couple of weeks since we really chatted the last time. I think probably it was a fortnight ago, I think, when we last chatted, because you didn't do the broadcast. I don't think, yeah, that's right, you didn't do the broadcast last week because you'd had the tooth extraction. But yeah, as much as the bits and pieces happen, really, not a whole thing, not a whole lot really changes from one week to the other, and I guess you probably know what that's like. So there we be. All right. Well, I don't think we've got anything else to ask you or make comment to. So I think Kelvin was talking about that he might be hanging around a little bit tonight too. And he wanted to have a talk to me about something as well. So I don't know whether he's still listening or not. If he is, he is. But if he's not, he's not. VK3 CSJ, VK3GL.
You there, Kelvin?
Yes, Clint. Very good evening to you. So how might you be?
See, he's there in the background. Yeah, g'day, Colin. VK3GL, VK3CAL, VK3EKH, CSJ. God. Yeah, no worries, Gray. Yeah, you're quite right. If I had have left work with the intention of looking after mum full time, which is what the idea was, if that that situation had occurred in the next year or so, without her pension and the carer's payment that I was getting, with that gone, I would have relied on. I would have had to have. I would have either had to have gone back to work, or I would have had the super, and I would have had to have sat down and just literally budgeted the next few years until I can access the old age pension. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm 63 now, so another 4 or 5 years, and I'll be. I've got to sort of hang in there until 67. So the best I can do is continue working, and so at least I can come to an element of time when there is something of some sort of income coming through. If I've got nothing left, if there's no superannuation. And that super is, it's still working for me because I'm still working. The company is still contributing to it. I guess if I stay in work for the next 4 to 5 years, then that super will also continue to grow. But I'm going to be getting into it, a little bit more of it, because I need to get things done on the barn here. And there's also the Scope Dome project. This July, practically the first thing I hope to be able to do is to get a few things done to the front of the barn, and I will need to get the termite people back to do their thing about trying to eradicate termites in the area. And I'm going to have to get a handyman in, or some chippy bloke in to try and repair the damage from the termites. So that's all those little things have to be done in the half this year. So yeah, there's not going to be much left of the 10% that I'm going to be taking out. Yeah, anyway, that's another story. All right, look, I'm pretty beat. Anybody who's able to see my eyes on TV will see they're pretty bloodshot. So they're almost on stalks. So, Kelvin, were you after me or after Grey Boy? VK3CAL, VK3EKH.
No, thanks, Clint. I was just chasing Graham there for a little while. But look, with your super, I could access mine at about 58, it was. Depending on when you were born, depends on what super company you're with as well. I was actually made redundant. When I reached my maturity, as they call it, your maturity age, when you can access the super, I think that's what you should be looking at. I'm sure whatever super company you might be with, they will have a website there, and there's a graph that will say, well, if you're born at such and such, this age, and whatever. But maybe I'm sure you've already looked into that, Clint, yeah?
Oh, yeah, yep.